Okay, guys. Hello, hello. I see we have people coming in. All right, just to do a quick check. So, can you guys, if you are here, can you say hello, please? Hey, Kim, how are you? Awesome. Who else is out there? I see we have quite a few people on. This is Mico. You can just type in the chat if you're out there. Hello, hello. All right. Okay, we're going to get started in 1 second. I just want to make sure that people are in and they can hear me loud and clear. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow, you guys are here. That took a minute. Angela, Camille, Mauricio from Zelda. Hey guys. Hey Julie. Oh my gosh, I see so many of you from the Facebook group. Mohammed. I think some of you are already registered. Hey, Hoa. Awesome. Okay. I asked my team to promote some of the comments so that you guys can kind of see each other. So, hey guys, first of all, thank you so much for joining this live free training. This particular training is going to be full of information. So, the one thing I want to warn is just make sure that you are focused on the screen because we have a lot to cover and honestly, not a lot of time. Okay. So, the name of the free training is our third series in our How to Become the Chief Data Storyteller in Your Organization. But this time it's using our rebranded Analytics Data Dictionary. All right, so let me do a quick check. So, who on here listened to part one and part two of these series? Put one and or two in the chat if you listened to part one and part two already. And by the way, if you haven't listened to it, because we've had literally at this point, I think we've had over 1,200 people attend the webinars. Don't worry, you guys are going to get the email after this with the link to listen to those. Okay. Oh, so excited here. I see Jonathan. Hello. Hi, Miko. Can hear you very well. Okay, perfect for that. Let me see here. Loving these comments, guys. We're going to have a lot going on here. Hi, Micah. All right. I see Marianne on here. Hola. Tugby's on here. Very cool. Okay, so I see some listen to part two. All right, so again, if you don't have the link, this is a very good series. We've had a lot of people give really good feedback. I highly recommend you go back and listen to part one and part two. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, our focus today is going to be on teaching you how to become the chief data storyteller in your org using our analytics design guide. All right. Okay, so let's just make sure everybody's in the right place. So the first step is that you're in the right place if you want an easy way to get the right data requirements from your users before you start building anything. If that sounds like you, then say I. You're also in the right place if you want to learn how to stop KPI/metric overload before it starts without actually telling your users. So what I essentially mean by this is a lot of times I hear people tell their users they have too much data. That is definitely not the way to do it. So we're going to give you a better way so that there's a self-realization that there's too much data. You're also in the right place if you want to learn the exact 9 items you need to define any KPI/metric and say goodbye to scope creep forever. Yes, okay. And last but not least, you're in the right place if you're looking for a proven way to drive analytics adoption in your organization that is scalable and business friendly. Okay, so with that said, I want to just encourage you guys, if you saw part one and two, you know I always have goodies at the end. Please stay tuned until the end because I have some special gifts for you for those of you guys who stick with me. Okay, so just stick in there. All right, so what I'm sharing here again is just some of our most popular lessons from our actual new BI data accelerator. Thinking about become the chief data storyteller. In part two, I laid out how to use our analytics design guide in order to make sure that you stay the storyteller. And in this part three, I'm going to finally address the data portion with our analytics data dictionary. So what we're teaching you here are tools that we give to our students during our live trainings and our online workshops and etc. in order for them to learn. So with that said, where are you guys from? I want to see here. Where's everybody from? Because we have quite a good crowd on here. Where is everybody from? Ah, nice, Amy. Amy said a big yes. Very cool. All right. Just waiting here to see where everybody's from. While I say that, I am actually in Atlanta, sitting at home, excited about doing this webinar. Okay, I see Kimberly. Hello, she's in Buffalo. Camille's in Miami. Oh my gosh, so many of you. As in Corona. This is fast. I'm in Dubai. Cool. I see Brendan's in Vancouver. All right, you guys are like all over the world here. I see someone from Australia. My God, I love you. Thank you for being up. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't worry, I'll make it worth your time. I see South Africa here. Phanindra. Marianne's in Massachusetts. Hey, Marianne. And Angel is in Wall Creek, California, and Hugo's in G. All right, so see a bunch of you guys on here. Don't have enough time to read all of them, but I just want to say welcome. If you stayed up, oops, sorry about that. We have a lot. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, hello there. My name is Mico Yuk. Just a little bit about me here. I do it at the beginning of all of these webinars because we always have hundreds of new people on here. So I've done a lot of keynotes and workshops around the world. They've been rated #1 at events like Facebook and MIT and Microsoft. I am a recent Microsoft Data Platform MVP, recent as in the last 4 weeks at this stage. Interesting time during the shutdown. The lockdown. Super excited there. And in addition, I'm also a founder and author. So meaning I've worked with some really big clients. At this stage, we've worked with about 20% of Fortune 500 clients in the world. I also wrote the Data Viz for Dummies book. And I've also had the opportunity. Oops, I see some people saying the audio is cutting out here. Hold on. I'm not sure why. Give me 1 second. Hold on, guys. I heard somebody said audio is cutting out, so I'm just going to double check here to see why. 1 moment here. Okay, hold on. Okay, so hopefully that fixes the audio issue. Ben, thank you for the congrats on the MVP status. I appreciate that. Okay, so I will slow down a bit. Sorry about that, guys. We just have so much to cover, so just bear here. Okay, so I wrote the Data Viz for Dummies book. If you're one of our students, you get that for free. We'll talk about how to get that for free later on. And I've also been mentioned a number of data scientist books because I actually started in the industry as a data scientist. And I also am the host of the Analytics on Fire podcast. So if you listen to podcasts, you definitely want to check it out. FeedSpot rated us as #1. Very cool. However, 10 years ago, things look different. Now, if you listen to my part 1 and part 2, I keep telling different parts of this journey. So just hang in there because this journey where I worked sparked a lot of these ideas. So when I started out, I was hired initially as a BI developer by Pfizer in New York as part of their business objects team. I did many long trips to Groton, Connecticut, beautiful train, the Elsera, gathering requirements with a few of the VPs, but I was very frustrated because literally I felt like target practice, right? All these requirements were flying everywhere and they essentially were changing every single meeting. Very, very painful stuff, though I loved being in New York. And so at the end of I think it was about a couple of months, I don't want to lie how many months, I think it was 4 to 5 months, I managed to build this dashboard, which you see on the right here, from what I thought were the most important requirements. Needless to say, our team was exhausted and we quickly realized that we were on the requirements gathering treadmill and there was no way to get off. It wasn't good. If you have been on or you are on the requirement gathering treadmill, say aye. Yep. I should have said say treadmill because I know that unfortunately, we all have that experience and it's not pleasant. Yep. Okay. I see some people saying I hear. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so just fast forwarding a little bit through this journey. So what I learned there, guys, is I spent some time when it came to the data requirements in particular, fumbling a bit. And so one of the things that I thought was, oh, I like visuals. I'll just start to like mock up whatever they want. Needless to say, that didn't go very well. Okay, so that led to basically kind of endless. At one point, I had one of the users decide they were going to actually take my little tool and start drawing for themselves. Bit of a disaster. The second thing I tried was what I considered to be so-called agile methods. That is not good. I don't have anything against agile, but the thing is, if you're trying to fail every 2 weeks when it comes to visualizations, you usually do. So this didn't go very well for me. And then the last method, which I love, which is what I think most people are doing, is I call it the spaghetti method. So what I did is I would let the users throw things on the wall and just hope it skips. So if you use a spaghetti method, just type in like spaghetti in the chat, because I feel like that's what a lot of people are doing. And let me tell you, it does not work. So that's when I basically invented, and this is the first tool I ever made to help myself, the KPI blueprint, which I recently named to the Analytics Data Dictionary template. And let's just think of it as a mixture of hard lessons learned, cover your arse, which is CYA, and in some cases, I call it payback. And so what I'm going to show you guys today is how to use it to handle requirements like a real chief data storyteller. Now, just a disclaimer here, if you guys have went ahead and downloaded the KPI blueprint before, we have made some updates to it, and I'm going to go through that with you and really show you how to use it. This is a really important template if you're doing data requirements, and especially if you're writing the word spaghetti in the chat, which a lot of you are. Very cool. So I started using Analytics Data Dictionary and things changed really fast. So a good example is, my workshop time was about 3+ months. It definitely reduced down to a week. Now, don't get me wrong, it was an intense week, but it was great to be able to finish within a week. Then my overall delivery time would be 24+ months. I mean, in my career, I've been in projects where it took a year just to create one visualization. Very painful in a few reports. That then reduced down to 4 to 6 weeks. And then I think the most important part was that the number of tools I was using, something I'll share with you. So in order to gather data requirements, I was using Word documents, Notepad, Skype. I mean, you name it, right? Because I was trying to be agile. Basically went from, I put 5 here. It might have been all the way up to 10. Down to one document, and that's actually the document that I'm about to share with you. So that was really, really positive for me, because what I found is that it was a trickle-down effect. When I invented this spreadsheet, for lack of a better word, to help myself, I just saw it kind of tumble down and decrease all the way down. Now, the cool thing about it is I have a great story. So Jonathan Shar, if you listen to our podcast, he actually is the manager of IT applications and BI and analytics at Middlesex Hospital. And one of the things he did, which was super cool, is he came to one of my trainings, and you see here he writes, there's a formality and a process to creating a KPI that didn't exist here prior to our methodology and blueprint. Like I said, it used to be called a blueprint. And what he did, which is very cool, is, he took the sheet I'm about to show you and he actually he globalized it and operationalized it, by putting it into SharePoint and exposing it to the entire company. Now, the cool thing about his story is that he talks about it in the podcast as well, is that he used to go into these meetings and they would consistently question the measurements. When he utilized what is now the Analytics Data Dictionary, formerly the KPI blueprint, he then operationalized it. Those questions literally went away. Okay, so this is a very cool use of it. This sheet has been downloaded thousands of times, but this is one very cool story. So now my mission, guys, is initially, when I started this series, I wanted to create 1,000 chief data storytellers. Our private Facebook group has almost 2,000 people at this point. So my goal now is to create 10,000 who want to use data to influence actions, deliver true insights, and design amazing analytics that users love. So I have this mission, and that's why I do these series and the trainings that we do and the tools that we provide, is I really want people who are on board to become the next chief data storytellers. So if you're excited to learn, our Analytics Data Dictionary template can help you get off the requirement gathering treadmill, say I. And I know I'm going to see a lot of I's in here because I saw a lot of spaghettis in the chat, which is super cool. Oeda said spaghetti. Ben said spaghetti. Very, very cool. Markel said treadmill. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the interaction because it helps me to stay excited behind this screen. Okay, so let's clear up a few misconceptions, and then I'm going to demo the actual blueprint and show you guys how this works. So there's a few misconceptions about gathering data requirements that I want to address. So the first myth is that a lot of people in our field feel that you need to have all the data ready in one place before you meet with our business users. That is not true. The reality, guys, is this. Most users don't know what they want. Users always have hidden data sources anyway. You'll actually, sorry for the bad news, you actually never have all the data ready. But what you do need to have is a simple shareable doc to define requirements. The second myth that I see is that people in our field feel that it is their job, or you feel it's your job to define and find all the data for your users because they do not know what they need. This, my friends, is also wrong. The truth is, and please let this sink in. I have another testimonial, but I don't have time. If you define it, you own it. If you don't take anything else away from this webinar, just remember these words, because I've changed a lot of careers with these words. I have testimonies going, oh my God, Mico, you told me this and I never defined another KPI in my life for the business, even when they were struggling. If you define it, you own it. And the problem with owning it is that if it's wrong, which it usually is, this is where you end up becoming liable and attack. Okay, so very, very important stuff. Your users need to define their metrics. This is also really important. And your users need a simple way to translate their data needs to you. Okay, so this is more important than sitting down trying to define all the metrics. The third myth, and the last one I'll address, is that you feel that you need to build it so they can see it first. Remember what I was doing to get users on board and start gathering the requirements. I have been here and done that. The truth is, guys, you are not BI Nostradamus, okay? We are not mind readers. Your users will focus on the visuals if you do this, and you are basically promoting scope creep. Again, what you do need is a simple way to gather requirements that the users can own. If you are in this position and the users feel that you are some type of Nostradamus, I would say type in here. I don't want to say Nostradamus, just put an N in the chat, because I think a lot of you are probably going to feel the same way. Okay, so can you relate? If you can, then it means you're in the right place. Let us get started. Oh my gosh, I love you guys with these comments. Kimberly says, preach. And Jonathan says that the challenge of getting users to define what they don't know, what the possibilities are. Absolutely love it. So, what is Analytics Data Dictionary and who is it for? So before we get to the demo, it's basically a simple 19-column Excel sheet that lists every part of a metric you will need for a successful project. And all you need to do is follow a few tricks, which I am going to show you. All right, very, very cool. Who is it for? Well, we've established who's on the line here. So it's for anyone who is tasked with working with others to gather data requirements. And that could be business users, BI analytics leaders, analysts, developers, or even data architects. So I think it's safe to say that, on here, I think we have the right audience. If you don't mind putting your job title in here, I'd love to know what you guys' roles are, just to make sure we've covered everyone. If you have a title that's not on here, I'd like to know that as well. I'm going to do a quick favor here. So I'm being told that my audio is crackling a little bit. So what I'm going to quickly do is see if I could maybe switch out my audio. Give me a second here. It's funny because I'm actually using my big microphone here, so I have no idea why my audio has decided today is the day to crackle. But just bear with me here as I go through and I try to fix it. So hopefully this works. Hold on. All right, let's see here if we will have some audio improvement. One moment here. Oh, good. I see you guys roles. I see you guys roles here. Yeah, I'm gonna just switch out into my Yeti to my Bose. Just give me 1 second here. We're gonna make a slight switch. I'll be right back with you. I'm hoping this fixes the problem. Maybe my Yeti. I'm gonna Okay, guys, I'm definitely back. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me better here. I'm hoping this is a little bit better. Hold on. Alrighty, 1 minute here. Let's get this show on the road. 1 second. Okay, can you guys hopefully hear me better here? I sure do hope so. Okay, all right, let's see if that works. Okay, guys, so we lost some time here, so just bear with me. Let me get caught up. I hope you guys can hear me. Let us continue to move forward. I'm hoping and praying this works. Okay, so I see on here we have a lot of good people here. Let me see here. Sorry about that. Yeah, I changed out my audio. So I see here we have a business. Amy's a business user. Laura, no crackling here. Okay, good. I see we have Jenna, BI leader. Very awesome. Okay, guys. Okay, so let's continue through here. So essentially, we have the right audience. Now, what I want to do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and actually demo the tool. But before I do that, I want to give you guys the steps to lay the foundation. So the way this process works, the way that you're going to use the Analytics Data Dictionary is first you want to pre-fill it. I'm going to show you how to do that. Second is you want to make sure that you work with the business to get their input, right? So I recommend setting up 2-hour workshops back to back. Expect it to take about 20 hours in 2 weeks. The third thing you want to do is validate and sign off, which I'm going to show you. And then you want to start development, okay? So it's just really, really important, really important. All right. Okay, so I'm going to switch screens a bit here, and I actually want to demo this for you guys so that you guys could see it. So do me a favor and let me know if you guys can see my screen with it. Can you see the template on my screen? Okay, perfect. All right, so welcome guys to the BI Data Analytics Data Dictionary. As I said, we did some updates to this. I'm gonna run through how to use this. Very good. Okay, perfect. All right, everybody's saying better. All right, well, Bose is worth the money, isn't it? Okay, I'm gonna run through this template, so please pay attention. So what I'm sharing with you guys is the best way to gather data requirements. So let me go through here. So what we have in the analytics data dictionary, again, Formula KPI Blueprint, is we have a few sections here, and I'll make it a little bit smaller, just bear with me. So the sections we're going to focus on for today are going to be define and format, data, and monitor. Okay, there's quite a few sections in this little dictionary, but we're going to focus on these particular sections so that you guys can understand. So the way that this works, let me zoom in the screen here. Fantastic, you guys. All right, this is too big. Hold on, sorry about that. Okay, so the way that you use this sheet is the idea is that you have some users or you have something you need to document and you want to be able to capture all the requirements. So the way that this sheet works is what you do is you start out first with actually this column. This column says Kpi and Metric. And what happens in this column is before you do anything, you want to basically list out all the KPIs and metrics that you have in whatever you're building, right? So if you're working with the users, this is where you kind of go through and you have Christmas and you say, listen, tell me every single KPI metric that you have. And at this point on our end, you shouldn't be worried about anything, just so you know, just let them list out all the metrics that they want. Now, for those of you who have multiple departments, there is a field here that we've now enabled. It was hidden before where you can list out the departments because depending on who you're working with, you may have KPIs across 2 departments or across 1 department. So the next field here, once you've exhausted these 2 fields, is you then want to go across. So you want to take each metric one by one. You want to go across and you want to then ask the user, all right, so explain to me how you're going to measure this. Now, actually, let me go back a second. One thing I want to say about here, guys, most users don't know what a KPI is. So the one thing I recommend is do not use KPIs. Do not use the word KPI. A lot of users, it confuses them. I cannot tell you how many times I'll do an entire session and a nice business user will come up and say, hey, Mico, by the way, can I ask you a quick question? What is a KPI? So just stay like really far away from this, okay? So you then take your KPI. So here's a good example that you have the cost of goods sold metric. You then ask the user, hey, so explain to me just in layman terms, very simply, how do you actually plan to measure, what do you plan to do with this, right? Why are we measuring it? So in this case, let's say, well, yesterday the user says, well, very layman terms, we need to know what we're spending for each sale, right? So just very simple. And this layman terms use case is just to get honestly the user thinking about and anybody who opens this sheet to understand what the purpose was. The next thing that you want to ask them is, all right, listen, right? I need to know the short name. And here my reasoning behind this. Everybody now has a device and phone. Using your phone is becoming the standard when it comes to analytics. So before you get to, I see this so often, before you get to the end of the project and then decide, oh, we don't have enough space for titles, what I recommend you do is you ask them up front, listen, this is a really long name here. Could you do me a favor and maybe give me a shorter name that I could use? And so in this case, instead of cost of goods sold, they've already approved COGS, okay? So that's something that's recognized in the organization, which is very cool. The next question, and you see here I put some notes, right? So if you forget, there's notes here now that show you that some devices like mobile have limited real estate, just in case you forget, or we'll talk about giving it to the user for self-service. The next question you ask, and this is where it begins to become a lot of fun, is you say, okay, listen, now that we have this, I need you to define it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to listen to me clearly with the words that are coming out of my mouth. Do not help your users. If you define it, you own it. And if you're a data person, I'm going to honestly be honest, if you own a database, I actually tell our database people, you have two options. You either sit in a room and you have nothing to say, or you don't attend the meeting and I'll give you the recording. The reason being is this, if you help the users to define it, they will never own it, okay? So it's critical that you get them to define it. The next area of that same measurement is now the formula. Now, the cool thing about the formula is this, right? I simplify this formula for cost of goods sold, which is sales minus overhead. But I need the data people and everybody in this call to understand that when it comes to the formula, you have to let the business define it very specifically. Again, like the definition, if you define this, you're going to own it. Do not pop open your database and start helping the business people, guys. This is really, really important for ownership. Even if they're struggling, make them define it, because 99% of the time, you're going to discover that their understanding of how this metric is calculated is completely different from yours, okay? So do not let them tell you, oh, you have that measurement. No, say you tell me how you're defining it. And sometimes they'll pop up an Excel sheet and then you'll get the real measurement. So it's important here. Now, the other thing is you learn a few things on here. And again, I don't have all the time I want, but one of the funny things about the definition and formula fields, which are two of the most difficult ones on this sheet, is a lot of you are gonna learn that you have business users that are asking you for things they don't even understand. Now, if that is your scenario, if you have been there, say me, okay? Because I can't tell you how many times we get to these fields. And at first I think, oh, they're struggling a little bit. And then I realize, wait a minute, you have no idea what you're asking me for. Like no idea at all, okay? So, and here, if you're a user, man, guys, I could go on about this. Make sure you stay professional. Remember I said this is payback, right? Make sure you stay professional and keep smiling and just say, okay, just turn the field red. Honestly, that's another thing we'll talk about when they don't have something, just turn it red after a few minutes and say, we'll get back to that. The next fields get a little bit more easier. So for that same metric, then you ask them, well, how do you want to view it? What's the chart view? And in this case, you'll hear stuff like, actual versus budget versus forecast, so on and so forth. Then you ask them, all right, and you document it properly, by the way. And then you ask them, a lot of users want to drill down, what type of drill downs do you need? So what level of detail? So in this case now, what you're probably looking at is they're going to say, hey, I want to see this data by ticket class or line of business or region. Just notate here. remember what I said to you. Even if you don't have the data and you know you don't have the data, this is not the time to correct the users or tell them what they don't and do not have. Your only goal is to sit down and record everything they're telling you. And I also recommend you actually record their audio of the meeting, okay? Very important. And then one of my favorite fields is the format. So I don't know how long some of you have been in this industry. Do you mind me asking how long some of you have been in the industry? In here, just put in how many years in the chat. But I've been in it for 10 years now. And one of the things that I have seen over and over again is you'll produce analytics and feel like everything's on board and everything's well. And then unfortunately, what will happen is you'll get to the end and someone will say, oh, I don't want 2 decimals, let's just move that. Or I don't want to see the dollar sign or the pound sign or whatever it is, right? You want a consensus right now. You don't want to wait and then have to go back through the database, frustrate the database person and say, please fix this. So get them to conform the format. All right. Now, once that's done, this is where you have now dealt with the define and format. Then you get to the fun part. So in the data section now, with that same metric, there's some rules here. So I need you to listen to me. The next thing you want to define is the owner. Okay, so this is pretty fun here. When I say define the owner, what I mean here is essentially that, you know, there's one rule for this. The owner has to be in the room. I have to say that. And when I say that, do not let anyone tell you that the owner is just, yeah, you know, it's Joey Smoey, right? He couldn't make it. Nope, nope, nope. If they're not in the room, they're not the owner. So very important that every metric has an owner. I often use that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You know, if you watch that show with Regis, you remember how they had a lifeline where it says, I think it said, call your best friend or whatever it is, right? This is the lifeline, okay? This is the person that's going to own the metric. And then you have the data source. Very cool. So the one rule about them listing the data source is I have to warn data people. There's a few things about this. Number one, do not let the user ever tell you that it's just in a database. That is unacceptable, okay? Very important. Make them tell you where it is, whether it's in a spreadsheet, whether it's just make them tell you this is where things are, okay? The second thing as well is you guys are gonna discover 2 things in this field. One, you're gonna discover data sources that you've never heard of. So what do I mean? Spreadsheet. I've encountered databases that had pet names on people's desks. I'm not joking, right? You want to keep a straight face here, let them say it, and all you do is you come in here and you type in Mico's spreadsheet, whoever's spreadsheet, okay? Do not react at this point. You find out about some real crazy stuff that people have running underneath their desks that you didn't know exists. The most important thing here, though, is you make a quick discovery as well. I love this field. Before I say this, I need to give a disclaimer. This is not meant to offend anybody, but there is something called Kpi Alzheimer's. So what that means is, and this is the cure, is that when it comes to phantom KPIs, where people are requesting measurements and they actually have no idea where they are, right? And this is what has a lot of these projects fail. So we call them a phantom KPI. So how does that work? So you're talking to the user and you say, hey, so tell me where I'm gonna find this KPI. And they get quiet and say, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. Okay, guys. This is the cure to phantom KPIs. What you do in that case, just so you know, when they don't have stuff, let me demonstrate, is all you do is you come in here and you want to turn this field red for now. And don't freak them out. Just say, all right, no problem. We will get back to that. Okay, so you just want to, don't freak them out at all. Just tell them, you know, we'll get back to that. Okay, the next field here, I want to hide my ribbons. Give me 1 second here. The next field that we have here then is the easier fields, but they're kind of fun. So in the monitoring part of it, right? So now you've defined it, you did the format, you now define who owns it and where it is, hopefully where it is you now want to define the monitoring, okay? And so in this case, there's also some funny rules here. So I love asking users, help me understand, listen to the question, how often do you view this data? And, you know, you typically hear stuff like, oh, I look at this every day. Yeah, or sometimes every month or every quarter, but you typically hear stuff like daily. The fun part about this is you then ask the question, how often do you think the data is being updated, right? Or it should be updated. And you'll hear stuff like weekly. So one thing that we've learned, which is kind of funny, is that there's a ton of users that are looking at data every day that doesn't even update until every quarter or month. Crazy stuff, guys, like seriously crazy stuff. Okay. So that's why I said this is a little bit of payback, because you can kind of giggle. Again, at this stage, this is just you understanding your expectations. This is not the time to say, hey, why in the world are you looking at this thing? It doesn't even update until the end of the quarter. Whatever, just write it down. The two rules I have for here though, guys, is that there's one thing I won't accept in here, and I don't recommend, which is writing the world real time. If users tell you they want to see this in real time, for goodness sake, pretty please, do not write it. There's a reason for that. Real time could be 6 months in the government. It could be 3 months in the real world. It could be 2 days, right? In some areas, it's actually real time. Stay away from vague terms like real time. Very bad stuff. And then to wrap up here, so we can get back into the causes here, you then have the alerts. This is basically like the rag colors, right? And so you want to define, ask them very quickly, hey, is there alerts on here for yellow, red, and green? Have them define it, write it down. And then security, this is very simple, just in case it's like super sensitive. This is not meant to replace admin, but just to know, like for instance, when it comes to HR, you have payroll data, just ask them, is there any specific security on here that I need to address? Let's say it's payroll, it should say HR only. And then you have the statuses over here, and then you have the purge. Now, I don't have the time to finish all of the segments on here. I wanted to just give you guys a taste of the data dictionary. So if you look on here is a good example, I'll show you guys. And this spreadsheet, guys, has been around for almost as long as I got into the industry. I actually built it for myself, and then I actually gave it to the world, and it became a hit. So I don't have time to finish the status portion and how you purge, so I'll do it really quickly. There's 3 levels here to purge for priority, data, and avail. What I'll do is I'll send you guys some further information on how to do this. But again, if you just use a spreadsheet to define your requirements, what we've been told is this is game changing. In addition, if you look here, guys, I want to show you, this is an example of an actual real spreadsheet. One of the ways that we use this is we use it like a heat map as a good example, where when users ask us how far we are, I reduce this down to like 30%, and we say, look, you see the reds and yellows, we don't have this data as yet. So again, I'm only scratching the surface here on this, but this analytics data dictionary is very powerful. So I want to share with you guys some quick stories. So here's a good example of Daniel Levesky. He actually worked at AT&T. He's doing his MBA, and he said that the BI formula spreadsheet saved me months in educating a requirement collection. Using the templates provided in the course, we were up and running in days. We were able to complete dashboards in 5 weeks, and he said it included requirement gathering, analysis, development, testing, and gathering periodic feedback of end users. Now, the back-end story to Daniel, which is super cool, which I later found out, is that he actually developed, I think, 64 dashboards in 6 weeks. Pretty crazy undertaking here, and he said that the spreadsheet was one of the main things that helped him. But the question is, all right, Mico, this spreadsheet is great, but if you actually want to become the Chief Data Storyteller, right, what else needs to happen? And so I want to make sure that I lay it out. Well, welcome to why we have, and we introduced recently, our BI Data Storytelling Accelerator online event, okay? So one of the things we learn is that one of the things that we have learned, no, are you guys seeing my screen here? Hold on. Just want to make sure you guys see my PowerPoint screen here. Okay, so one of the things that we have done is we've learned that even though you have the spreadsheet, most people essentially need a bit more, okay? And because of that, we actually introduced our online event. Wow, we have some seriously experienced people in this audience, by the way. I'm just seeing here how many years. Wow, 25 years, 12 years, amazing. Okay, we have some newbies. We have only 1 year. Very, very cool stuff, guys. Absolutely love in the comments. Keep it coming on here because it keeps me going. All right, so we introduced our new BI Data Storytelling Accelerator event, and that's because there's a few things that need to happen. So what this is essentially on May 12th to the 13th, we have our 2-day online event. And again, it's for BI analytics leaders, analysts, data professionals, and essentially people who want to fast track their understanding of how to create compelling data stories with their users, delivering real insights. We really are serious, guys, about creating chief data storytellers. So what will you learn in the accelerator? Well, step 1 is how to create an actionable data story. So what do I mean by that? So I've given you guys now the template to define the metrics, but one of the steps before you actually do that is to make sure you collect the right metrics, okay? So yes, you can go and just start to pull them from everywhere, but if you attend our event, we actually show you how to use our visual storyboard to collect the right metrics and then create the visualization documentation for your users to showcase, all right? Oops, sorry about that. The other thing is we show you in the event how to use our visual storyboard to keep your users engaged and get rid of the Word docs. Coming into the industry, I have to admit to you that one of the worst things about doing this section was having to sit down and write tons of documentation of Word documents. We have literally nailed it down between the storyboard and the blueprint, and the analytics data dictionary. Think of it as requirements done. So we teach you how to do, honestly, this step before gathering requirements. The second thing we'll teach you how to do is when working with users, we will teach you the only 5 questions you'll ever need, okay? And we have some of our students on here. So if you guys have used the questions, put it in the comments. I wanna share it with everybody. So instead of going in and asking the users random questions, we literally, that are vague. Because remember, if you ask a random question, you get a vague answer. So if you stick to our 5 questions, that problem will go away. Right? So we give you a 5-question cheat sheet on the questions to ask your users, and that also helps you to control the conversation, because I know from experience that this is literally one of the most challenging things when it comes to this, is having specifically even technical people come in and try to have these discussions. We remove the guesswork from that, okay? And then the other step, oops, sorry, I shouldn't say 2 on here, is after you've now crafted the story, you've asked the right questions, you then use the analytics data dictionary, right, to do it. We then show you how to take that and turn it into an amazing data viz. Very important, right? Going from story into data viz, because the one thing that users want is they want to see output. They want to see things that look great. A lot of people underestimate the UI portion of this, okay? So we actually show you not just how to frame the story in our visual storyboard and then validate it in the blueprint or the analytics, data dictionary, which I showed you, but we'll show you how to turn that actually into a wireframe, how to choose charts and add context to your visualizations. So one of the things that's pretty cool, guys, is in our online session that we're gonna have on May 12th to the 13th, which I'll give you the details of shortly. I actually share with you something that I'm very passionate about, which is called the anatomy of a tile. And from my understanding, once you learn that, and if we have any students on here, please make a comment about it saying that you're using it. Visualization becomes a lot easier once you understand the science behind it. So we give you an exact layout of the anatomy of a visual tile in any dashboard or report, I should say, that you could utilize, okay? So if it sounds too good to be true, how do I know that this will actually work? Well, I'll be honest, the BI Data Storytelling Framework, which I'm talking about, has actually changed my life. I'm not joking. I got an email this morning that almost made me cry from someone who signed up for the class and told me that when I met them in 2013 and I was explaining this, my passion changed their life, and now they're in Canada on stage. They're actually going to be at the live event coming up here soon. And so then you get emails like this, right? So Ryan Deeds, love him to pieces. He's a VP of technology at Assurex Global. He actually came to our training. This guy is a senior guy. And he said, look, in his 17 years of analytics training, there hasn't been anything more impactful than BI Brain's data storytelling workshop, right? And I was very touched by this. He said, I don't think I'd have the job I'd have today had I not attended the session. He basically had an entire paradigm shift, which he describes as night and day. So very, very cool, guys. Again, love these people. You know, we take a ton of feedback. We have tons of students, so very, very cool. All right, so with that said, I'm gonna now tell you guys what you get. So what I'm encouraging you to do, if you like what we've shown here, we only have an hour, and you guys wanna spend 2 days with me and Anna, we are gonna show you guys all of those steps, step by step. It's gonna be very intense. And so in light of what's happening, we actually brought our online event, our live workshop online, okay? And so, sorry, I think my slides are a little bit delayed here. And so what we're doing is we're doing something really special because of the COVID virus. So I want you to look very closely here at what we're doing. There should be a registration button on the right. If not, you can go to bidatastorytelling.com. But before you do that, let me show you that we have up to $2,000 worth of bonuses that we've never offered because of it. Okay, so just focus here. So when you enroll, you get over 1,000 in savings and bonuses. So the first bonus we have is for everybody who attends, because we have people who are attending from all around the world. You will be able to get all the class recordings and the notes. Very important here. So let's say you could attend only a portion of it, which I don't think you will. It's usually very engaging and people actually stay late. But if you can't for some reason, you will get those recordings and notes, and that's a $297 value. The second bonus is that we're going to give you very well designed story-driven wireframe templates. So I don't have the time to show you guys this, but if you look here, you notice that our templates look slightly different. Everything is laid out, all the story parts. We're actually going to give you guys some starter templates that you can use so that you can jumpstart. Because part of what we try to do, that's why we call it a BI Data Storytelling Accelerator, is we try to expedite your journey so that you're focused on what you need to be doing and not focused on trying to start from scratch. That is very expensive and difficult, and it usually fails. And then our third bonus is that you're going to get our storyboard template, the 4-part one I talked about, right? I talked about this, where you can print and use it for yourself. As a matter of fact, we have some people who just recreate it and start using it. But the thing that's important is we're going to spend the first day on this to have you understand how to actually craft a perfect data story, okay? So remember I said to you that this step is a step that actually happens and comes before you start validating it in the blueprint. Very, very important. This is one of those game-changing things, guys. Not to mention, users love when you go through this process. So very, very cool. The fourth bonus here is you're also going to get access to our student-only Slack group. Okay, so really important here is that we have a private group for our students. I love this private group, and so you guys will gain access to that. We already have people signed up for this online event, and you guys can start networking and meeting other people. It's not the Facebook group. We have a private Slack group that you get invited to, and you can start meeting other attendees. Last but not least, you have another bonus, which is you get to have live Q&A with the instructors. That includes me and Anna. Like I said, we're in an online event, but our platform is set up so that you can be very interactive, hopefully on camera. And I'll be addressing, as well as Anna, who you guys will meet, our lead designer, all of your questions directly. So what that means is that brings the total value of the course and bonuses, right, to $1,497. But wait, there is more, okay? So if you go ahead and sign up for VIP, and this is a huge one, we actually have more VIPs registered than regular because of this. Because of the pandemic, we are offering essentially our online course with it for free. Understand this, you get immediate access. The online course by itself is the cost of this entire event. It's $797. This is really important that you guys understand that we've never done this. The online course is free and you get immediate access to it in addition to the actual live event. And that's 4 weeks worth of modules. You then get something called, if you do VIP, the hot seat offer. So what this means is on a first come, first serve basis, but you basically pull out a single page of your spreadsheet and or your report, and you get the whole class to work on it. So they basically apply everything they've learned. If I have anybody on here that has done the hot seat, do you mind saying aye and maybe writing a comment on here? Because I think you guys will absolutely enjoy this, okay? So transformation is important. The hot seat is something that I've always wanted to do. And when we did our 2 live workshops so far, because the BI Data Storytelling Accelerator is new, we actually had this considered to be one of the most valuable things of the entire event. It's free consulting. People in the class are applying everything they've learned to your use case, right? This is invaluable as a VIP. And then the third one is you do get a free ebook. So we immediately send you a copy of our ebook, all right? Now, that now brings the total of everything value to $24.97. But here's the deal, guys. Because of COVID, we have made some huge exceptions. Oh, I have it backward. I'm sorry about that. I actually have the pricing backward. On the left is a VIP pricing. So for the full 2 online event, everything I've showed you, that is about 6, 7 bonuses, it's only $7.97. And if you don't want VIP, sorry about the mix up here, that's actually going to be $4.97. Okay, so this is very special. We haven't done this before. We want to make sure that we're helping people through this pandemic. So if you are interested in accelerating, if you're interested in being a part of our community and being a Chief Data Storyteller, I honestly don't think it gets better than this. And so if you go to kpidatastorytelling.com, what you'll see there is the options to register. And like I said, I apologize. This is VIP on the left, which again gives you the online course for free and all those goodies I just showed. And if not, the standard payment gives you all the beginning bonuses and you guys can get registered. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and put a timer on here. I want to go ahead and address some questions that you guys may have. So if you can go ahead and put some of those questions in the feed, that'll be super awesome. And yeah, we can go from there. So if you have questions, let's go ahead and address them, and I'll be looking out for those questions. You can go ahead and register at story.com. Not to mention that, you also get a certificate of completion upon request, which is pretty cool, letting people know that you are on your way to becoming a Chief Data Storyteller. Okay, so I'm in here and I am looking for, let me see here. I'm in here and I'm looking for the questions. All right. Hey, Markel. Awesome. You said you just purchased the book. Ah, nice. Oh, Kimberly said it's on my wall. Very cool. I like, China said I have. Oh, thank you, China. I didn't know China was on here. She said, really great. Stick to the script. Awesome. So China actually came. China actually came to one of our live events. Very cool. Glad to see some of our students on here. Okay, Julie asked a good question. So Julie said, are you seeing the need? Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you right now, I don't have enough time to go through all of our success stories, but we are growing a tribe here of very successful leaders. Once you get to know our community better, you'll see how many of them, just like Jonathan, when Jonathan Shar, when he came to us, he was actually the lead. He was a data scientist and lead. He actually became the manager not too short after, just FYI. And so and he said a part of it was the fact that he came in with a process that worked. And when it was time to get promoted, they looked and said, all right, this guy has a process. He has tools. This is working. Remember, he eliminated with the blueprint. He's telling me it took so much time up even to the C-level, people questioning their metrics, right? So we absolutely are seeing a desperate need to make sure that you are on top of these things. All right. Okay, sorry about the crackling here. I'm not sure why it's crackling. We're just going to have to keep going with it. So see here that you mentioned. Oh, sorry about that here. Hold on, guys. Let me go back to my presentation. Sorry. Someone here mentioned if the spreadsheet is all red, what is your role to get the red off? So that's the thing, Amy. I didn't have time to go through the purging segment. So that's why I'm offering people, if they want to go ahead and they want to attend the session, I will go over that and show them exactly how we manage to reduce the metrics. One of the great things about the metrics is that it allows you, one of the great things about the analytics data dictionary is that it basically allows you to reduce your metrics typically by 50 to 70%, just FYI. So you do get a reduction in metrics. Okay, what I want to do here, guys, is I'm just going to come out of the screen for a minute, and I'm definitely going to show you guys here some of the stuff. A lot of people haven't seen this, but if you go over to our website and you just type in, as I said, there should be a link in the chat. This is essentially the event here, which has all the details. Sorry about my little WordPress on here, but it has all the details of what you guys are going to get. It also has on some cool stuff on this page here. Sorry that I'm scrolling. Besides some testimonials on here, it also has a high level of what we're going to cover for the 2 days. So, anybody who wants to get registered, it is on May 12th to the 13th, should go ahead and do that. Very, very important stuff. And we have actually a ton of testimonials as well from the event. That's why we're encouraging people to get signed up, because like I said, for the first time ever, we actually are offering the online course with it for free. Okay, so someone asked me a good question. So I think, Amy, I hope I answered your question there. We just ran out of time to do the purging on there. But I will tell you the one rule is that if you have any red in anywhere in the spreadsheet, you do not move forward with that metric. Okay, Ben asked a question. So he said, what do I say when I ask who's the owner? And they say, well, it's you. So Ben, that's a great question. So you got to make sure that you tell, IT cannot be the owner. And when I say IT, you cannot be the owner, right? It's really important that you emphasize to the business that in order for this to work, someone on their end has to be the owner of this. This is really, really important. And then explain to them what the owner's role is. The role of the owner is that when changes need to be made, when this metric needs to be updated, because you shouldn't just sit there and let these metrics die. Like I said, operationalize this sheet like Jonathan did. You tell them they're going to be the gatekeeper. Someone says too many zeros. Someone says it's wrong. The definition is incorrect. That person has to approve it, and that person cannot be in IT or tech. All right, let me see here what other questions. These are really good questions that I'm seeing here. I see awesome. All right, great. Any other questions on here? I'm just looking in the Q&A. Okay, Austin asked, when can we receive the template analytics data dictionary? So Austin, you guys will receive it in the replay email. So you should get that not too far after it's over, actually. Just make sure you look out for the replay email, and you definitely will have the download in there. Yeah, okay, thank you, Kimberly. Kimberly corrected me. Well, Kimberly, we consider the online course to be free because it's the cost of the entire event. So let me rephrase it. Kimberly made a good point. It's included as a part of VIP package. However, the online course by itself is typically $797. So I'll just scroll along here. It typically is the cost of the entire course. And the online course has almost 1,000 students. So that's why I consider it, because we've never done this. I guess we were talking about it internally. We said, you know what, we're just going to throw in the online course, which is the cost of like the whole event. So this is a super duper deal on here. Not to mention, by the way, we have a few groups registered. If you do want to register 3 or more people, the price does drop down to $447 a person. Thank you for that, Kimberly. That was a good find. Okay, other questions that you guys have on here? I see that we have a few minutes left. I'm happy to stay on and answer more questions that you may have about the analytics data dictionary or anything that you may have. Any other questions on here? Thank you for that clarification, Kimberly. I'll go ahead and broadcast that out to the room. Let me see here. I'm just going on here. All right. Markel said he purchased the Data Viz for Dummies books. Very cool. Start from chapter 7. Let me see any other questions on here. I'm just going back into the comments. All right. And guys, sorry about the audio here. We obviously had a little bit of crackling and issues. Bandwidth issues, honestly, since this thing started. So sorry about that. Any other questions, guys, about anything? About the event, about anything? And guys, I just want you to know, if you're considering attending and you've never done an event with me, the reason we have so much success stories, if you listen to our podcast, is I'm a lieutenant to some extent, not in a bad way. I push you very hard, and I'm going to do the same. So I just want you to know that don't think you're going to come to this event and just relax. My goal is to teach and to make sure that you guys really understand this, okay? So, and I should ask, so how many of you are attending the event? I see we already have registrations coming in. At this stage, I believe we have about 20 seats left. I did have to cap it because we opened it up and it's already filled up to where people who are laid off. We opened up quite a few complimentary seats, and that is already filled up. So we capped it at 50. So we have about 20 seats left, probably less now with the people who are registering. All right, let me see here. Any other questions that you guys have here? Any other questions here? How many people will be in the class? Hey, Julie, so we capped it at 50. We did it on purpose. All right, Marka, yeah, start at chapter 7. And actually, there's a blog post on our blog that that talks about that. Why does the workshop have that the course doesn't cover? So the workshop is an accelerator, Camille. That's a good question. So what we do in the workshop, so you can definitely take the online course. I mean, I can show you, you can go to online course. It's rated 5-star. People have taken it and had fantastic results. It takes about 4 weeks to get through it, depending on how fast you go. However, the accelerator, so people who want to just 2 days in and out, get started. So it's, that's what we call an accelerator, right? We take the best of the best, real world, not to mention you're in there with other people, pretty intense, and you essentially come out and it's time to implement. All right, I will Ah, nice. Okay, Ben. Awesome. Yep, you got VIP. Very cool. Okay, Zoran is asking, what if different business users cannot agree upon a definition of customer or product? What is upsell? What role is to align those definitions? So again, Zora, I didn't have enough time to finish up the entire usage of it. That's something that I will plan to do in the class. But what happens is if you have people who don't agree, you need to mark that cell red. Step number one, mark that cell red. And when you go into the ending part to purge them, if anything is red, you don't move forward. So that's a really good question. That if you can't figure it out, you don't move forward to visualize it. Oh, thank you, Ada. No problem. All right, I saw one person on here that got one of the seats for being laid off. I'm not gonna call their name. Okay, Jay said, I've attended one of your events at past and it was fantastic, extremely helpful. I highly recommend your courses. Oh, Jay, love you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Wow. That's really a testament. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we love doing these events. Mohammed has said, at times I've used BIDF earlier, but I always had an obstacle when coming to drill downs for groups and metrics. How do I improve the process? So Mohammed, obviously that requires digging a little bit deeper on there. When you say you had an obstacle with drill downs, because what you do is you let them list the drill downs in here. I don't quite understand what you mean by obstacle, but I think I get. I think that you may need to email me on that one. Kimberly, thank you. Have a good afternoon here. Yep. Okay, so I know we're at the hour here. I'll stick on for about another 5 minutes or so for anybody who has any questions. Any other questions? Any other questions here? Let me see. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. All right. I love this. Any other questions here? Let me see. Okay. Oh, good. I love it. I see we have another person who got one of those seats for being laid off. Yeah, we're excited to be able to have people join as well. Super duper excited, guys. All right, Zelda, till next time. Thank you. Awesome. And for those of you who are registering, welcome, welcome, welcome. You should get your welcome email shortly with all the details on what is next. All right. Any other questions here before we get signed off? Just going back here. Okay, guys. So again, apologize for the scratch show audio. You guys are absolutely going to get the replay of this. You guys are super awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for spending the time. If you have any other questions, feel free to put them in here. I will stay on for about 3 more minutes or so. Yeah, and then we'll pretty much hop off. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, okay, good. Thanks, Camille. Okay, Ingrid has a question, and I see Julie has said, what industries do you see adopting this? So Julie, the actual analytics data dictionary has been downloaded at this point over 10,000 times. So if I couldn't even begin to tell you, what we're doing here, right, is we're giving people the skill sets they need to engage the business. And as a result, even though we're doing it in the format of gathering data requirements, we have people in Germany, in Canada, who have done their thesis on this, because the process itself just benefits you as a whole in how you think about and frame your conversations. Needless to say, we've seen this across hundreds of industries. I don't really think there's one I could say adopted this per se. It's industry and platform agnostic. It's a skill set, and we give you the tools to do it. Okay, Ingrid said she has a quick question. I'm just waiting here. So I hope that answers your question, Julie. Thank you. Ingrid, I'll take your question, and then I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. Okay, Ingrid is asking, is it better to teach people to know how to make their dashboards or make them as analytics office? Let me see here. Ingrid, that's a really good question. I would say it's a combination of both. Okay, so in organizations to thrive, you have to enable a lot of self-service. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If you don't enable self-service, the way data is moving, analytics teams cannot be responsible for the everyday analytics requests. It's just not going to happen. Okay. So my recommendation is that even though it has to be like, you have to have two trails. You have to have the strategic things that you're building in your analytics office. Those are the most important things, typically for high level decision makers who will never open a tool. And then you have to have the people who need something every day, self-service. And you need to be able to create modes of training, understanding, education like this. We have people in tech that bring their users. You have to create the ability for them to service themselves, because if you have a team, no matter how big it is, and you're tasked with building everything, let me tell you very quickly, and many BI people will tell you, that is a recipe for failure and being undervalued. Super duper important that you do not go that route, okay? Very important. Markel asked a good question about being able to purchase the Power BI templates. We actually have a really exciting announcement coming for next month where you'll be able to buy all the templates. So if you're still on there, the answer is soon yes. All right, I see here Ben asked the question about what's the difference between the details and example rows of a data dictionary. That's actually a really good question. Sorry, I just thought that was there earlier. The difference between the details and the row is that we just give a statement of what it is, and then the example gives you a real world example of those fields. But we describe what that is, like what the options are for that field. All right, good question. So question, the analytics data dictionary step comes right before the wireframe, correct? So that's a great question, Marianne. What I will say is this: from a most experienced users, some people do the visual storyboard first, and then they take what's extracted and they actually put it in here. Other people, depending on the culture, and I tend to look at it like this: if your audience is very high level, Marianne, you want to start with a visual storyboard. If your audience is a bit more in the weeds, I recommend potentially starting with the blueprint and then going into the storyboard. It really is dependent on who the audience is and how in-depth they are in the data. Very important stuff. Yeah, I see here Mohammed put, it's been difficult to get users a self-service journey. Yeah, Mohammed, I think part of the problem with that is because there isn't processes in place. You can't just give people tools and think they're going to just be able to figure it out and use it. I know that these vendors preach that. That is not what happens in the real world. That's why we are focused on the process, right? Because what we do is we want users to be able to understand this is how you get the stuff that goes into the tool, instead of them just doing it and do it. That's the thing. They get tired. It's like, again, they're on a treadmill. Oh, another tool, another tool. It cannot be the tool, right? And that's what a lot of tech pushes. It has to be, what's the value? What's the process? All right, I'll stay on here and take, these are really good questions. I'm just gonna talk about here. So Zoran asked a question here. It seems that the blueprint is mainly focused on Kpi and metrics. What about dimension attributes? I can ask to track certain KPI by customer, but how can you know what is the definition of a customer or any? So Zoran, I don't know when you came in, but the definition field, that's exactly what that's for. And like I said, I didn't have time to dig into how detailed that should be, but you should be listing every single element of the formula, every operand of it. That's exactly what that is for, okay? It should be in there. That's what this is for. That shouldn't be somewhere separate, shouldn't happen in a separate process. You should be listing it. And I'm going to bring it up here one more time. Top off. So if you look here, I can't open up this client stuff, but if you look here in the details field, when you get to formula, this is where you should be listing attribute, dimensions, whatever it takes. Again, you may have come in late because I kind of went through, I listened to it. If you came in late, just listen to how I went through the different fields. That level of granularity and detail should be in here. Marianne, one more question here. You said that the WHW method and data dictionary process are very different. Yes, Marianne, they are slightly different. And the reason being is because for the, I don't know if I think about them as different. The WHW process is where you're taking the metrics that are on your story, right? The WHW process is where you're taking the metrics that are on your story and you're making them actionable, right? Very important, very, very important. Those actionable metrics should end up in here and be defined. Now, if you start with the blueprint and then you have to go craft a story, you still have to end up making them actionable. You could technically do it in here if you want. It just depends on how many metrics you have. Like I said, you shouldn't have too many, but you have to make sure that you have a story. So I don't think it's very different. It's just, again, who are you dealing with? If you're dealing with someone typically lower level or more hands-on, extract all the metrics out of them. If you're dealing with people higher level, start with the storyboard and then bring it into here. But either way, you have to do the WHW method. And for those who don't know what that is, she's one of our students. It's a method that we show you within the class to take any metric and turn it to be actionable. So you still have to do it, Marianne. You don't get away from it. The question is, when do you do it? Great question. Okay, Julie is asking, where do you capture the transformations that are required for the dimensions? So Julie, maybe I'm not understanding which transformations. Give me a better example and I can probably address that before I hop off here. I gotta hop off in a minute for a meeting. Let me see here. All right, you're welcome, Zoran. Let me see here. Wow, we have a lot of questions. You guys are awesome. Thank you. All right, let me see here. Thank you, Marianne. Awesome. Thank you for joining, guys. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. As I said, I definitely went through, and again, if you just take this spreadsheet and use it, life does become a lot easier. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. And you guys, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. As I said, you can go to bidatastorytelling.com and you guys can go ahead and get registered. We do have a few seats left. I haven't checked to see who's registered. I see some registrations come in. But yeah, guys, I look forward to hanging out with you guys. I think it's about a week and a half, and we will be doing this over the course of 2 days. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, have a great one. Thank you for attending. If you guys have more questions, if you're feel free to go online and you can just ping me. I'll be happy to answer. If you're in our private Facebook group, feel free to go there as well, and I'll be more than happy